the Overwatch community should be grateful to Marvel Rivals. Not because it's a better game than Overwatch or anything like that, but because the competition the game brought actually saved Overwatch. This is how. I didn't have much expectations for this Overwatch Spotlight presentation. Blizzard hasn't done the best job in building good faith with their audience, and the lack of enthusiasm for recent seasons has shown that something needed to change. Unfortunately, despite some changes being made to Overwatch over the years, in the end, it didn't do much to change things for the better. They've lost trust with their community with so many questionable decisions being made with the balance, PvE, content, and so many other things. Overall, it's just been very disappointing for a game that has so much potential. I posted a recent video detailing why I thought 6v6 couldn't fix Overwatch if you want to watch that, and I think they came to understand that at some point as well. I'm pretty happy that Marvel Rivals has been as successful as it's been because competition always breeds improvement, and that's precisely what this spotlight has shown us. Finally, steps in the right direction. This still doesn't change any previous criticisms I've had with the way they've handled character designs and community feedback, which was kind of the main point of the last Overwatch video. One of the few things I neglected to mention in that video is that one of the biggest factors of the dissatisfaction within the community was that the gameplay loop was starting to get stale, which is precisely why Marvel Rivals has been a breath of fresh air for everyone. Obviously, the game borrowed many concepts from Overwatch, but it enhanced them in a lot of ways that made this genre feel fresh again, which is why I'm actually optimistic about the upcoming changes this spotlight announced. I was initially skeptical about the perk system being added mostly because I was afraid that they wouldn't be equally balanced or equally fun. After looking through the perks myself though, from what I've read, I actually think this will be a really fun way of shaking up the game that'll add more layers to the game that was starting to become too simplified. It also adds something to dive into for people who've been maining specific characters for a long time. Personally, I'm excited to see how my playstyle as Genji can change since he's my main. Hero bans is something that the Overwatch community has been asking for a really long time now, so its inclusion in Marvel Rivals was an easy layup. Giving us the control to determine what characters are and aren't fun to play against is better for our enjoyment while also being a good way of receiving proper feedback. It's simply beneficial for everyone for this to be included. Map voting is also something I'm totally down for that I think Rivals should actually implement as well. This Stadium mode also looks like something that has a lot of potential as well. Stadium mode being third person by default completely changes the dynamic of Overwatch on top of this in-depth mod system with its own layers of strategy as well that looks pretty fun. The new DPS hero Freya looks fun as well, but I can't really comment too much about her until I actually play her. From a surface level glance, she does kind of seem like what you'd expect from a new Overwatch character. So far, nothing about her has really caught my interest, the same way Hazard also didn't really interest me much. The last new character that actually interested me was Juno, if I'm being honest. Like I said, she might be really fun in gameplay, but I won't know until I try her. 6v6 having its own separate competitive queue as well is also a nice touch. They didn't specify how the game would be changing in order to make 6v6 work, but hopefully they do better with it than they did during the playtests. Having Overwatch Classic come back occasionally with old metas will be a nice little mode on the side to enjoy for people who get a nice kick out of experiencing that Overwatch nostalgia. There's also something I kinda wanna admit fault on here. In my previous video, I said changes to maps or collab skins or 6v6 can change the fact that the team doesn't actually listen to what the community is saying about the game and is giving us what they think we want. But after this spotlight presentation, I think they do listen, but they've been having a hard time deciding what's actually best for the game and have made a lot of mistakes due to poor judgment or maybe even corporate interference. It just felt like they weren't listening to us based on the decisions they made that oftentimes were going against everything we were saying we wanted. A lot of these announcements have been things we've been asking for, so it's nice to see things take a different direction for once. They've been too passive for too long on making big decisions in fear of the community disliking what they gave us. As an example, Marvel Rivals announced that Season 1 was going to have a mid-season rank reset on top of the one that already happened at the beginning of the season. Naturally, the players were pretty upset about this because it was still way too soon and people were still climbing the ranks. Never in my life have I seen any devs walk a decision back so fast in my life. Crazy concept, but they heard what we said and acted accordingly. Making mistakes is fine as long as you understand where we are coming from and actually listen to us. We will respect and appreciate you that much more because those types of moments show actual respect for us, the audience.
I would personally like to see you guys be more aggressive with that type of stuff, where like stuff like this, right?
We're aligned. I love this. We're aligned.
Yeah.
We want to be more aggressive. Old
Nice. I
Overwatch
like that.
would have probably been like, well,
Yeah.
maybe we hold it back and like just double check, right?
Yeah.
Just make sure it's right. But it's like, comp players want to play.
Yeah.
Being passive when your competition is this hot in the kitchen only caused them to get burnt. Even I and many others said that the food was still salvageable though. There was a clear difference in approach when it came to communicating with the audience. This spotlight actually made me feel like these were real people who actually give a damn about the game. A lot of their previous presentations and announcements did not make me feel that way at all. A lot of the time, it just felt like they were a faceless entity that was here to tell us what our fate was next. It just felt like there was a distinct lack of passion from them, therefore our enthusiasm dropped big time. The spotlight has seemingly reignited some enthusiasm within the community, and I'm really happy about that. In the end, that's all I've really been wanting from Overwatch and its community. They also briefly mentioned changes to maps and redesigns, and I'm also pretty happy about that too. A lot of the maps have pretty obvious design flaws that made combat feel frustrating a lot of the time. Lots of maps still have uneven designs that can oftentimes favor attacking over defending and vice versa. They've already made a few changes to help this in a few maps, but we still need quite a few on other maps too. I'm hoping this recently announced content isn't something I see 2 years from now either. Blizzard has been notoriously slow with content previously, and I still think these changes took a little too long for my liking. The spotlight didn't mention anything about potential changes in character balancing or design philosophy other than perks, which was a little disappointing to me. A part of me kind of wished that they sort of admitted that they messed up with a lot of balancing decisions, but I'm not expecting that from them, so I'm not that disappointed. They also didn't mention any changes to the ranked system, which was honestly one of the main things that killed my enthusiasm for Overwatch personally. Most of the time, it just felt like Overwatch ranked was more frustrating than fun, but they were vague about other big updates and changes down the pipeline, so we could see those things happening sometime in the future. I'm cautiously optimistic about the future of Overwatch, and I hope this presentation indicates a better path going forward. At this point, after watching the entire presentation and seeing everything that's been announced, if you don't feel at least a little bit optimistic or excited, then Overwatch probably just isn't for you at this point. The loot boxes are also not nearly as big of a problem as people are making it out to be. People are using the word loot box like it's a fucking slur. People are so quick to jump onto narratives about something for the sake of attention, and the conversation around Overwatch bringing back loot boxes is no different. You can't even buy them anymore, so the biggest issue with the loot box system has already been eradicated. You can only earn them through the battle pass or completing missions. One of the biggest criticisms Overwatch has right now is that the cosmetics are way too expensive, which I agree with. So if there's a system that exists that can potentially save me money on stuff I want, then I see zero downsides to this. Reasonably, a lot of people feel as if Blizzard is getting desperate adding lots of things they removed in Overwatch 1, which is true. This is why I say Marvel Rivals unironically may have saved Overwatch. They've never experienced any real competition before, so having someone else push them in their territory has finally caused them to retaliate. I don't expect things to be perfect all of a sudden, and this won't erase the bad faith they built on the internet. In fact, I still expect them to make a lot of mistakes, but that's fine. Their response to mistakes is way more important than the actual mistakes they make. Overwatch feels like a high school student who's been failing his classes all year and had to lock in just to graduate. Obviously, I'm not expecting this game to suddenly overthrow Marvel Rivals and reclaim its spot at the top or whatever. As it stands now, Marvel Rivals still has way more credibility, and their good work and passion has clearly inspired change within the Overwatch team. If it all goes to shit after this, then that's just massively wasted potential. Overwatch still has so much potential to be better than it is now. If this goes well though, and we actually have a bright future for Overwatch, then hey, why can't two legends coexist?
Besides, Overwatch can't die until they nerf Genji again.